This can hurt. Welcome to another episode of Double J's List. If you get a chance, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. They could help me out a lot with the channel here. Today, we're going to talk about the 12 things that either I don't like or I even hate about my Chevy Bolt EUV. And I want to start off by saying I don't hate the car, obviously. I actually really love the car. However, there are a few things that drive me nuts about it, and I wanted to share that with you. Number one, and I believe that this is a part of the fact that this is a very early EV among other EVs in the world right now, that this platform doesn't have a lot of the innovations that newer ones do. And the number one thing that I can think of is the fact that it does not have a frunk. No, it has, under the hood here, all we have is a bunch of mechanical stuff. I believe those are power inverters, and there's some cooling system parts, some air conditioning components. The washer fluid is really the only thing that you worry about as an EV owner. The rest of this stuff, it goes to more service centers and things like that. And then there's the brake fluid, you can check that. Other than that, this isn't really usable space. And the reason that I think that this stinks, that it doesn't have a frunk, is the number two reason, or the number two thing that I don't like about the Bolt, is the fact that this is the EUV. They made it bigger than the regular EV for 2022, and the hatch itself is no bigger than the Bolt EV. It's the same size. They made the rear seat bigger when they made it bigger, which is good, but it would be nice to have a bigger hatch to do more things with. What is nice is it does have this area here, and you can open this up, and then you've got a whole other storage area to put a lot of other things in. I use this right now for my reusable grocery bags, but I fit like a bag of cat litter and the shorter groceries, and you can stack it up. Make good use of this space, but it's not the best. The number three thing I don't like about the Bolt EUV is the fact that it is front wheel drive, and I also attribute this to the fact that it is an early EV. General Motors used components from other vehicles, such as the Chevy Sonic and other compact vehicles. So therefore, those were front-wheel drive, and then this is too. With EVs, there's so much torque, and there's no packaging advantage to going with front-wheel drive, except for they've been kind of stuck in their old ways with this one. So when you look at newer EVs, the battery, just like this one, is in the floor. Each motor is about the size of a watermelon, so you could have all-wheel drive and it really doesn't interrupt things. You just need to run the electrical wires to that area. This, with front-wheel drive, there's no packaging advantage, essentially, with an EV. With a gasoline car, that engine and transmission takes up a lot of space, so if you can have it all taken up here in the front of the car, that works out really well if you're doing that. But with an EV, you don't have that. The battery is down here in the floor underneath, and essentially you should only have a small motor up here. So the problem with it being front-wheel drive, with all the torque that it has, is that it has 100% of the torque all the time, and if you floor it at any speed, just about under 40 miles an hour, it spins the tires. Because what happens when you accelerate at any vehicle, the weight is transferred to the rear wheels. You see a car, when it takes off, the nose goes up, weight goes back there. Therefore, you have less weight on the front wheels, and they spin. Not ideal, but again, it's an old platform, and this is what General Motors decided to do. The number four thing that I don't like about my Bolt EV is the fact that it has some really strange taillights. Right here, you would expect this to be the brake light and turn signal. It's not. All it is a running light. Down here, these are the brake lights and turning signals. When you hit the brakes, these come on, along with the other side. The center high mount, you turn the turn signals on, these blink. All this does is when you have the headlights or running lights on, these just glow. That's it. So when you're from behind, and I noticed this the other day when my wife was driving, I was very surprised that those do nothing other than just stay on and are ambient light. All right, I'm going to cut to another video where I actually explain exactly what is happening back here. Okay, now the brake lights are on. You can see the center high mounts on with the bumper lights. Now it's just the left turn signal. Now just the right turn signal, all in the bumper still. And now we've got the brake lights on with the turn signal on and the left. And the turn signal on the right with the brakes on. Next up, you'll get to see the hazards on, and the hazards on with the brake on. Just the center high mount comes on. Now I've got the running lights on, and now I'll turn on the left. No, that's the brake lights. And now the left turn signal. And they've got the brake lights on with the left turn signal. Now the right turn signal. Brake lights on with the left turn signal, right turn signal. Now just the running lights, and I believe I put it in reverse. There it is. The reverse light comes on. Okay, number 5 in the number of the things that I don't like about the Bolt EV. Take a look at these door corners. See how sharp this is and how it stands out? So I've had a number of times where I've gotten out of the car, and if you're wearing shorts, this can hurt. It's very sharp, it's very jagged, very strange design. It would be really nice if this was just a nice smooth curve, and this, for whatever reason, this plastic has an extremely sharp edge. Just a design oversight. Number 6 of the items that I don't like about my Chevy Bolt is the high gloss screen and piano black materials that are in the interior. As you can see, look at all of the fingerprints that are all over, and all of the dust and all of the dog hair. I had my dog in here once in the past week, and all of this dust, all these fingerprints all collect all over this stuff. It's gross. That's why I carry this microfiber cloth, and whenever the car's off and I happen to be in it, I'm wiping off the fingerprints and trying to get the dust off. It drives me nuts. I wish they would have done this a different way. I know other cars have screens that aren't super high gloss, and other cars have materials besides piano black. Also, this scratches really easily. This isn't showing too many scratches. There's a little bit of a scratch right there. I don't know if it shows up well, but it scratches. It's not ideal. Number 7 of the items that I don't like about my Bolt EV is the price of the app and the capabilities that the app has. So on my Mazda CX-5 that we had a few years ago, they had a very similar app that you could remote start, lock and unlock the doors, things like that. And it worked okay. The functions weren't all that great, just like this one. However, they only charged $25 for the year. General Motors, for some reason, charges $14 a month, I believe, for the same service. It's free for the first year, but then they get you for $14 a month for each additional year. For each additional month, I should say. Doesn't make any sense. It's way too expensive for what it is. When my trial goes, I'm probably just going to give it up and use the remote start that's on the fob. So, also, with it being an app, and everything in the car being computer controlled anyway, why can't I change the temperature inside the car? Why can't I pop open the sunroof? Why can't I turn on the heated seats or cooled seats? This has a setting in it where you can tell it to have the heated or cooled seats on if it senses it's a certain temperature, and it will do that, but I want complete control of that from the app, and there's no reason that they can't do that. So especially for what they're charging, it should let you do just about anything and everything that is computer controlled inside the car. Number 8 is a problem that we're having with my wife's phone and her CarPlay connectivity to the infotainment in this car. This car offers wireless Apple CarPlay. It works fine for my phone, and it used to work fine for my wife's phone. For some reason now it won't connect wirelessly to my wife's phone. I had to install the cable into the center console for her to be able to use CarPlay. before I take it in to have it looked at, I think I'm going to do a factory reset of the whole thing. I have to redo my presets and all that kind of stuff, which is very annoying. But it will be nice to see if that fixes the issue and with her phone. I don't know. But really annoying, and it seems like all these cars these days are having problems with the infotainment. We're just asking a lot of these things, and car companies aren't software companies, they're car companies. So their primary concern is making a car that works well, drives well, not connects to your phone well. And I think that's reflected. The number 9 issue that I'm having is with the Bose sound system in this car. So this has the sun and sound package, which, as you can see above my head, has the panoramic sunroof that I've got the shade on right now because it gets really hot in here unless you have the shade on. And it has the Bose sound system. The sound system sounds good for the most part. However, I've been getting a rattle from the passenger side speaker. When it hits with a really big bass beat or a very low frequency, there's a rattle inside the door panel. And I found that if I take my finger and just put it on here like this with a good amount of pressure, the rattle stops. So there's something rattling in this door panel. I don't know what it is. I need to take it to the dealership and have it looked at. I just haven't had a chance to because it's not really a functionality problem for me, but it is extremely annoying when it happens, so and frustrating. Number 10 hasn't affected me too much. It's only affected me once on the road trip, and I've got a video about that if you check out my playlist for the Bolt EUV. But the DC fast charging, because this is an older EV, the architecture of the electrical system is older, and it doesn't allow for the fastest possible DC fast charging. So it doesn't affect me because I mostly charge at home, but if I were doing a lot of road trips, that would be an issue. And I imagine it's an issue for a lot of other folks that do more road trips than I do with their Bolt EUV. Number 11 is more of a personal issue for me than it is an actual problem with the car. I am at my heart a car enthusiast, and I prefer driving a manual transmission. EVs doesn't make any sense to have not just a manual transmission, but any transmission at all, because you have 100% of the torque throughout the entire rev range of the motor. You don't need gears, so there is no shifting that needs to take place. I really enjoy shifting. Luckily here in Western New York in the Buffalo area, there isn't a lot of traffic, so the only time that I find a manual transmission to be irritating is in a lot of like heavy stop and go traffic, and we don't have much of that here, so I would much rather prefer to shift my own gears and operate my own clutch. EVs, that's not a thing, and that's just a sacrifice you have to make to have a really low cost vehicle that is still pretty fun to drive otherwise with all the torque and power that it has. So personal thing, not really a problem with the car. And finally, number 12. Number 12 is an issue that I have, and I've had issues with in other vehicles too. With this being an EV, you encounter these guys typically in large pickup trucks that feel like they have something to prove to you as they're driving along them on the highways and around town. For some reason, they see the Bolt EUV and they have to cut you off or give you dirty looks or accelerate past you quickly, whatever it may be. For some reason, I've had a lot of issues with this. I also had issues with this in my Prius that I had 6-7 years ago. So why, I don't know. It is pretty irritating. And it's just people being immature and just generally ignorant. But that is an issue that I have encountered, and I'm guessing other people have encountered too. My wife has encountered driving both of these cars too, the Prius that we had and then this. So it is what it is, unfortunately. But anyway, that's it. That's my 12 items that bug me about or even I hate about having a Bolt EUV. If you like this video, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Hit the like button, and thank you for watching.